Fernand Lopez is the premier MMA coach in France. Is it because he's good at his job? No. It's because he was just the first guy to do it at scale. The MMA Factory sucks. Don't let people tell you it doesn't, because they have no proof. Fernand Lopez has made a career out of taking mildly talented people, making them a little bit better, and then plateauing hard. The specific examples that we're going to look at today left the MMA Factory and got not just better, but equipped with the tools to be elite. I have had my issues with other MMA coaches in the past, like Trevor Whitman, and Javier Mendez is someone that I want to touch on in a future video, so subscribe for that. But Fernand Lopez might be the worst high-profile coach in the sport. At least the other guys have coached champions. Lopez has nothing of real note. No concrete results. He has a UFC featherweight who is aggressively mid, a heavyweight who went 0-4 in the UFC, and a borderline fraudulent interim champion. The list of people who have trained there for a little bit, left, and then found immediate success is growing by the year. Francis Ngannou is obviously the most public example, and the entirety of Ngannou versus Gane was sold off of this former training partners turned enemies dynamic, but Francis and Cyril Gane didn't really care. The real beef was between Francis and Fernand. The key idea of this video is something that Francis and I both believe, that Lopez is in MMA for the wrong reasons. To him, it's about fame and money and a business opportunity. And when you're a coach, you have to be selfless. You have to acknowledge your role as a member of the supporting cast. It's a thankless job, but that's in the job description. Fernand Lopez says that Francis stiffed him on gym membership money, which is weird because he also runs the Management Factory, a combat sports athlete management company in the vein of Dominance MMA. He is the manager and coach for most of, if not all of the fighters at the MMA Factory. Being both their coach and their manager puts Lopez in a really weird position. Whereas their manager, he's taking approximately 10% of their fight purse. For Ngannou in 2017-2018, right before he left for Extreme Couture, he was making around $200K on average, which means that Fernand Lopez was skimming $20K off the top. And then he demanded that Ngannou pay an extra $600 on top of that for gym fees. At a certain point, especially when managerial fees and gym fees are managed by the same guy, couldn't you just take the $600 hit to have a champion, to have a star? Oh no, but he was never going to be a champion with Fernand Lopez. He didn't believe in his own abilities enough to get Francis to a level where he would make enough money and it would be irrelevant, right? The other sticking point was supposedly Francis Ngannou's ego. Allegedly, he didn't even think that the MMA Factory was a big part of his success. In hindsight, it wasn't, but Fernand isn't going to see it that way. You can put someone with the physical gifts of Ngannou anywhere, and he'll probably be a top 5 heavyweight. But when you put him with someone like Eric Nixick, who can properly hone him and teach him the skills and understands heavyweight MMA to a degree, then he finally finds success and is able to break through and formulate and stick to a game plan against Stipe. If there's one thing that I can give Fernand Lopez partial credit for, it's his ability to scout talent. Especially these young African men. Fernand Lopez, coming from Cameroon, he has sort of a Cameroonian bias in my opinion. A large number of the people in his gym are from there. His real name's actually Fernand Lopez Awanyebe, so he and Francis should have been a match made in heaven, but he has also found some talent from other European countries. Nassourdine Imavov moved to France when he was 9, trained for a little bit in boxing, and then he eventually made his way over to the MMA Factory. But much like Francis, he plateaued shortly after reaching the UFC. Loses to a short-notice Sean Strickland, which is aged pretty well, but then he has a no contest with Chris Curtis, and he kind of gets derailed a little bit, and before that his performances weren't too impressive. So he bails at the end of 2023 into early 2024 alongside the MMA Factory striking coach Nicholas Ott, and then he finds way more success. Now he's on a 4-fight win streak and has looked very impressive, aside from the wonky cannoneer finish, but he was doing pretty good in that fight as well. The third fighter that I want to touch on in this video is Cedrique Dumas. He's on a bit of a run right now in the PFL, and he trained at the MMA Factory for a short while until he made a swift exit. We come to find out in 2023, 4 years since Dumas left the MMA Factory in 2019, that Fernand Lopez has been smacking his wife around for years. And Cedric was fighting Jordan Zebo on a PFL card, and after he won, he said that he wasn't fighting Zebo. He was metaphorically fighting Lopez on behalf of Lopez's ex. Crazy stuff. In the media, Lopez said, "Hey man, I just slapped her a couple times." But she says that he knocked her unconscious on multiple occasions, so that is up to your interpretation. Slim Trabelski is yet another person who has had issues with Fernand Lopez. He migrated from Tunisia to France, and he trained at the MMA Factory for a while, and competed in Fernand Lopez's promotion, Aries FC. But he felt like he was never given solid one-on-one time, and was kind of just being used as a warm body and a training partner for Ngannou and Gane. When the UFC tried to sign him, Lopez blocked it, because he was still under contract with Aries FC. So Fernand Lopez is his coach, his manager, and his employer, which technically is breaking multiple French labor codes. This isn't even really a unique occurrence. He does this for half of the gym. Anyway, Slim then made the silly decision of going behind Fernand Lopez's back to try and sign with Ali Abdelaziz in the UFC, and that was never going to work out. So the UFC signed him, and then they had to release him because it was contract tampering and the whole deal, effectively burning that bridge with the UFC. Slim is now 8-0 with wins in the PFL and Bellator, but he's another example of an aggressively mid fighter, undefeated but unimpressive. But he could have at least gotten a UFC paycheck or two. By and large, fighters who leave Fernand Lopez will have drastic increases to their MMA abilities. Whether this is because of Lopez's ego, his oftentimes counterintuitive training methods, because he's preoccupied with another one of his many businesses, or because he's busy beating women, it doesn't matter because the MMA Factory, as long as Fernand Lopez is in charge, is allergic to success. Let me know what you think about Fernand Lopez and all of my gripes in the comment section below. Subscribe for more videos like this, and if you like this video, you'll probably like one of these too as well. Scummy managers in the top left, French MMA in the bottom left, like a choose your own adventure book. Like, comment, and subscribe for more MMA content. Shout out to Shauna, Proletarian Gothic, Lambslayer, and Vanny for being vampiric enjoyers. Thank you all so much for watching. Maybe don't stick around the MMA Factory for too long. Maybe make it really brief, and have a good time.